Siege Engineer, a game about building stuff and flinging ragdolls around. In this devlog, I'll be making some visual improvements, trying to get the editor somewhat usable, creating some new levels, and crushing ragdolls with huge stone balls. For the past month or so, I've been rewriting most of the game. Now everything functions much more independently, which makes it a lot easier to make changes and add new functionality. Here's an overview of some of the changes. Here's an editor update. You can now rotate objects with the keyboard while you're dragging them, and they'll rotate around your cursor. And you can do the same thing with shift click and multiple objects. What I want to do now is make some changes to the Ragdoll guy's graphics. One issue is that he blends into the sky too much when you're zoomed out far. And now that he's the main protagonist of the game, he needs to be easily identifiable and contrast more with the rest of the environment. So I just made some small tweaks and color changes. It's a little easier to see what the ragdoll is when you're zoomed out far. Maybe in the final game there will be some customization options where you can edit the colors and stuff. Next up is adding labels to the inventory. So when you hover over each item, it will tell you what it is. Also, I need to add little numbers that will let you know how much of each item you have remaining. This is what we've got now. There's a little more information about the various items in the inventory. If you take something out, then the number will decrease. And if you delete something, then the number increases. There's still a few changes that I want to make to the editor system. Right now, when you click on an object, it gets brought to the front, so that it appears on top of everything else. This is even the case for things that are connected to other items. So if I click on this beam, which is behind this beam and this wheel, it gets brought in front of them. And I don't think this is the most intuitive behavior. For example, if you're working on some huge creation with a bunch of beams and you just want to adjust one a little bit or edit, say, its collision property, then it'll throw off sort of the appearance of your whole creation. Now when you select or drag an object, it will retain its Z position relative to everything it's connected to. But it will be on top of everything else. If you want to move something all the way to the front, then you just break its connections and then drag it back on. I also made a couple more editor improvements. Before, if you wanted to change a connection type, you would have to click on the connection, drag your mouse up to the top right corner and click on the new connection type. Now, all you have to do is click the connection and it will change. And it just cycles through the three possibilities, which are fixed, pivot, and none. Also, there's now a reset button that will just reset the entire level. I think Ragdoll games are a little bit funnier when body parts can break off. For this game, I don't really want anything too graphic, but getting crushed by a 10,000 kilogram stone ball should be slightly more realistic. 2D physics joints in Unity have these two properties, reaction force and reaction torque. And it looks like these are the forces applied to two connected rigid bodies to maintain their connection point. So my idea right now is to try to use this data to figure out when a joint is under a lot of stress and should be broken. So the script for doing this actually ended up being pretty short. All it does is every physics update, loop through all the hinge joints in the Ragdoll, and check if each one has a lot of force being applied to it. And if so, it just disables the hinge joint and spawns this little blood particle effect. Here's the simple blood explosion I made with Unity's particle system. And here's how everything works in the game. I've decided that the demo for this game will include 8 levels, and they will involve beams, wheels, and stone balls. So for the initial demo at least, there won't be any motors or springs, and that's just so it doesn't get too complicated with such few levels. So what I need to do now is figure out what levels I want to include and put them in the game. What you're looking at is the first level. I just need something that will introduce the basics of the game. So the inventory, the automatic connection forming, what the goal of the game is, and how to run the simulation. I've already made one other level, so just 6 more. I made some more levels and fixed up some older test levels, so here's what we've got.